Hi, Thursday, October 22nd, 2020, and I figured, if I'm being real, here's some real, huh? Here's some real. Actually, if you actually saw what I look like when I first wake up in the morning. I mean, yeah, the reality is, it's like we all wake up in the morning and we're, no one is gonna look like some kind of a supermodel getting up in the morning, but yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, like I think every time I'm thinking of like recording these things, I'm kind of thinking about like how I'm looking, you know. But one of the things that is funny for me when I first wake up in the morning is that I think that I have talked about the never-ending construction that we have outside of our place. It has literally been years. It's been years that there's been construction outside of our place, and as much as our place is like pretty noise proof. I mean, I think the materials and everything like that are pretty good, but like drilling and construction, hardcore construction, they're gonna get through. I mean, at least we're even very fortunate that we don't hear neighbors for the most part and all that kind of stuff. But the construction is pretty brutal. And a little while ago, they started at 6 in the morning. Before, like during this whole pandemic thing, which started, as we all know, and at least in North America here in mid-March, the construction just went on the entire day, and they were in the drilling phase. That was stressful because the entire day you would just hear drilling and drilling and drilling, and at least we are a few floors up, so that can kind of feel it, but not really. But I can only imagine what it was like for these folks who lived on the lower floors, who faced the construction site, and what that must have been like for them those months. I mean, even now it's not super great, but at least it's not drilling, endless drilling for like months, while everybody is tense and everybody is locked up and everybody is feeling like garbage, or at least I'm assuming a lot of people are feeling like garbage, trying to work at home and trying to cope with this, like this new reality in the moment and stuff like that. So, so all that to say, because I'm a pretty decent sleeper, except I guess like sounds and things like that, they wake me up. So I've gotten used to putting on a pair of noise-canceling headphones at some point in the evening, so that it doesn't, like, first of all, if I'm having trouble getting to sleep, I'm listening to something and it puts me to sleep. And then if I'm sleeping through the night, if the construction starts, the noise-canceling headphones just help to not have it so prominent, or so for me to be able to hear so loudly. So so all that to say, when I wake up in the morning, I have sort of like my hair tied back, and then I have my headphones on, and I have my eye mask that's kind of like askew by the time that I wake up in the morning. And I wake up, I go to the bathroom, just look at myself in the mirror, and I look like a bona fide nutball. Like, I literally, like, my hair's all over the place, I have this eye mask that's askew, I have these headphones that are on, hair everywhere. So I was like thinking of like what it might be like for me to take a picture of myself, like actually publicly post that. But really, there's no need for that. There's absolutely no need for that. But I mean, that's part of the reality of things, right? I'm trying to be real with what's going on. And part of what's real about what's going on is, as you may have seen from yesterday's video, there was a decision. I made a decision to, with some help and some consultation, to delay starting chemo until next Friday. And the reason is because I went to the hospital yesterday with thinking that it was going to be, I'm going to take the blood test, going to get the results. Hopefully the bilirubin number would be down enough for me to be able to start, and that we would start on Friday. And so that was the expectation yesterday. So I was pretty nervous about that. Probably not as nervous as I ended up being, but I was nervous, and it was it was disappointing to hear that my bilirubin number isn't quite there yet. It's still double where they would like it to be, but it was incredibly off the charts before. So it was in the 200s before. They needed to be down around the 30s, and apparently the optimal is like 22 or something like that, like based on what it says on the lab results. It's in the 60s right now. So and I could still see there are still some tinges of yellowing that's going on. I could still see it in my when I go to the restroom. So, I was wondering about that when I did go in for my blood test, and my blood tests do show that I'm still elevated. So after the folks in the oncology team, my doctor wasn't there, but when the oncology team conferred about it, they came back and they said we can either start on Friday and just adjust the chemo medicine so that hopefully it doesn't end up aggravating the bilirubin, and also to try to minimize whatever side effect that might come from that, or we can wait another week and get that bilirubin number down, and we could start next week. So there were a number of things that I had thought about in relation to this. One is, the main part is, the idea of having one more week without the side effects and what happens as a result of chemo is very appealing to me. Now that I am more I'm more versed, I have more of an idea of what to expect from the chemo. I know that at the very, very least, the fatigue is just going to be something that's going to be really, really hard, amongst other things that can happen. And because of like my issues with the biliary tube, with the tube insertion site, and the discomfort with that and the pain that I've been experiencing in relation to that the last couple of weeks, this past weekend was actually pretty difficult. And I kept thinking to myself, like last weekend, it's like, this is the last weekend before chemo. It's like, 1900 BC or something, right? Like it's before chemo, not before Christ, but before chemo. And it was like the weekend. But I felt like crap. I was in pain. And I was like, this is kind of a crappy way to move into like this next big bit of things. Didn't even have, like, it was nice. Like we rode around and we did some errands and stuff, but I didn't feel great, and it just, it wasn't my ideal idea of Sundays, but we don't always get what we want. But that's the one thing I kept thinking about. Oh, this is the last Sunday before chemo, BC. And then I started getting worried about chemo and like the side effects and stuff like that, largely because of, I think, how difficult I don't think I'm pronouncing it right, but anyway, I'm going to call it the biliary drain, has been. And the procedures and the tube and like what all that has meant and felt. Like it just hasn't been a pleasant experience. And so I just have like this sort of bias, I guess, that, that everything else is going to be pretty crappy too. And the reality is, it probably is going to be pretty crappy. But so I was like, I really like the idea of this having another little bit of time where maybe I could just feel okay-ish for a bit. I mean, as I sit here and I record this, my knee is touching the bag that has the bile excretions in it. So I always feel it. I always know that it's there, but there's no pain. I'm not uncomfortable. I'm not feeling some kind of a pull or anything like that in relation to it. It's just, it's there. Okay. Like I have there's a presence, but it's not impacting my experience in this moment one way or the other. In terms of like, in terms of like how it feels, or like what tactilely, I guess, apart from the fact that I can feel this bag on my knee. So the last few days, actually, I've had some really good days. Emotionally, like and mentally, like hard, but in terms of like how I've been physically feeling, like been pretty good the last few days. And so when I was given that option, I thought to myself, if I can have another week that feels like this before chemo, BC, I'm like, I could go for that. I could go for that, because what if, and this is just a giant what if that's never going to be something measurable at all. What if it is that I delay chemo for a week, and that means that shortens on the back end my life in some way? And I don't know like what we're talking about here, like a day, a few days, a week, 2 weeks. I don't know. I have no idea. But what I do know is that on the back end, I'm not going to be like this. On the back end, I'm likely going to have difficulties going to the bathroom by myself. I'm likely going to have difficulties feeding myself. I'm likely going to maybe sleep most of the time. I have no idea. Like, all I know is that my state of being now and my state of being on the back end of this experience is going to be very different. So if I can have a week where I feel like this, I'm going to take it. It's a bit of a gamble, and then the hospital folks are like, there's no bad answer. There's no wrong answer here. But I think that this, and maybe there wouldn't be any discernible, difference in time either. And I'll just have this bonus week, BC. So anyway, regardless of like what that might be, and again, there's really no way of being able to figure out or measure that. No one would be able to do that. So I took the week. I took this week. And I think that I'm really looking forward to this week. Not that I'm doing anything particularly special, but I'm going to go hopefully visiting with a very good friend tomorrow, when I would have otherwise been starting chemo. So that feels pretty significant for me. I have some plans to also visit with another friend, social distance and all that, right? On Friday, that's tomorrow, on Saturday for a couple of hours. And so I'm excited about that. And then Sunday, it'll be me and Joe, and hopefully we'll have an opportunity for us to have a good day on Sunday where, I'm physically feeling decently. And then, to still have some energy and time, and to be able to do some stuff that I want to do, because up until now, I'm still in the process of wrapping things up in terms of my practice. And wow, this is the one thing I will say about my practice, is that I have had the privilege the last 12, 13 years, or however long it's been, of like working with some, like it's like some pretty remarkable people. And it's that in itself has been a very challenging part of closing things down. So whether, yeah, I mean, that's all we'll say about that. But it's been a lot of work. It's been a lot of work, and it's been a lot of I don't know, like work can feel like a grind, or something you have to do, and it's something I had to do, but it didn't. Again, when I say it was a lot of hard work. It was just um, I wish that I had some other words for it. It wasn't just um, it was just really emotional. It was just very. It's been just very very deep and a lot, and yeah. So that's also been part of like what I've been doing that I haven't really talked about here, but it's it, and for that to be sort of on the tail end of things, I feel at this point, and to have maybe a few days next week where a lot of that work is already done. I think that would also be just, I had to have a little bit of time, I guess, like for myself or something, or just to have to have a few things that are not sort of in like the frontal lobe, I guess, right? Of like have to do, just maybe being able to go, okay, like those things are done. And not that I won't think about those things, but those things are done, and there may be other things that I can focus my attention on as well. So, I'm, yeah. So it's likely, I feel like it is going to be next Friday when the chemo is going to happen. And a couple of the things that came out yesterday in terms of side effects that the doctor, I didn't get her name, yesterday talked about was, and because I read through everything, but she went over things again as well. She had talked about, I don't know, if, like there's something, some kind of sensitivity to cold that she says that it could be numb, or it could be it can be experienced as numbness. It can be experienced as pain. It can be experienced as not being able to grip things, and that clearly would have an impact on the quality of life. And that has to do with one of the drugs. I don't know what it's called off the top of my head. It starts with an OX, I think. And I was doing some reading about that, and there are some people who have had experience with that particular chemo drug that had ice. They iced their hands, their feet, and put ice in their mouth while they were getting that treatment, while they were getting the injection, or while they were getting the medication. And apparently that helps to desensitize from those particular symptoms. So that was actually a very good thing to have read and learned, because there were a number of people who have reported that works. That doesn't work for everybody, but for these folks it did. And so I'm figuring it's worth a try. So that's something that I will be preparing for next week. The other thing is, for some people, doing a coconut oil pull in the mornings, with some clove apparently and some peppermint, with at least this particular person did, had helped her with mouth sores, and other people again seems to have reported similarly. So I just started to do some mouth pulling, or oil pulling, to see, just to get used to it, just so that it's not something new that I'm kind of throwing in there starting next week. So I'm preparing myself for those things. I asked about these things at the hospital, and they didn't, the doctor that I was speaking to yesterday didn't particularly have any insights on any of these kinds of things. So hopefully doing the cold exposure stuff while I'm having the treatment, and on top of that doing the oil pulling, will help with the mouth sores. And I'm going to be hydrating like crazy, and she said like Gatorade and stuff like that's okay. So that's something that I will continue to do, because like hydrating has, I know, helped me with more drainage the last couple of weeks too. So it'll help with the drainage, it'll help hopefully with hydration. And I do want to do a little bit more research about to keep hydrating, because I know that with the drainage that's happening, that is definitely dehydrating me. I could be rehydrating myself right now based on what's going on, but what more am I going to need as a result of the chemo, for instance? Maybe my body is going to need to be like hyper hydrated in order to be able to bounce back from some of the impacts of chemo. I don't know. That's just the question that I have. So that is, and in terms of energy, she was saying that getting some exercise every day will help with energy, even though it could be hard because, you know, it could be tiring and all of that. I got like one of these like peddler things where you can just sit on the couch or sit on a chair or whatever and just pedal, and I've been using that for the last couple of days, and it's been working out. It takes a little bit of space in a place where we don't have a lot of space, but the weather's been pretty crappy the last couple of days, and so walking around downtown where I am, it's not necessarily pleasant, but again, it's something that I probably should be doing, but I hadn't done it pretty much like throughout the whole pandemic situation, so that stinks. But apart from that, I did get this peddler, which seems to be pretty good so far, and the last couple of days I've pedaled half an hour a day, and I'll keep doing that, and hopefully that'll also help with my energy. I have a body vibration machine, which is supposed to help just, I don't know, maybe oxygenate or just challenge the muscles a little bit by just sort of like moving it. I mean, I think that's sort of the idea of it. I'm gonna try to use more of that in the next little while, as I need to make sure that I'm taking care of myself in the best way that I can. So it also helps me feel as though the next week or so will give me more time to just kind of armor myself up to be able to manage this chemo, this particular chemo. So, because here's the thing, like, you know, not knowing anything about cancer up until now, there's different chemo treatments based on the different cancers, which makes sense. Absolutely makes sense. Didn't think about it. I just thought that chemo is chemo, period. But my specific chemo that I'm doing, chemo treatment that I'm doing for the pancreatic cancer that I have is, again, I'm bad with names, especially names that don't make any sense to me. It's just a bunch of letters that don't have any kind of context. Starts with an F. The one that gets attached to me is called FU5. The one particular one that's going to make me potentially sensitized to cold and not give me like neuropathy, I think, is called OX something. I think it's considered to be a platinum drug. I don't know what that means, but platinum sounds nice. Probably isn't nice, but it's, yeah, but I don't know. Maybe you could see sort of like a little bit of a difference in my demeanor, I think, as a result of maybe knowing that I have like these few days. I just feel like just kind of like I don't want to say like a fighter, because I don't like hearing stuff like the person lost their fight to cancer. Like, this is just, I guess, the process of how my life is just sort of gonna be. And so I am going to do my best to be around as long as possible, like based on the circumstances that I have, with, again, like the most quality as possible. I don't want to feel as though I lost to anything. I feel like I won. I'm winning in a lot of different ways. So I don't ever want to sort of be kind of like seen as like a victim, or having lost or lost a fight or pitied, or, you know, any of those things. These are the cards. We're all dealt some cards. And these happen to be mine, but I'm not gonna lose, or I'm not gonna fail, or I'm not gonna, yeah, it's not gonna be, and I'm in it to live, in the best way that I can, but I don't want to be like, like when Eddie Van Halen passed away very recently, it was like he lost the fight to cancer. He lost the fight to cancer, and it's like he won life, dude. He was a genius at what he did, and he shared it with the world. And there are, and he was human while he did it. And and I'm sorry for him and his family, because I'm sure it wasn't easy to lose him, and to lose him in the way that they did. But to say that he lost his fight, like that being sort of the way that it was like characterized, is listening to the radio like over and over and over again, as opposed to Eddie Van Halen has lived a remarkable life. Now he's not here anymore. Okay, I'll take that. But not to have the cancer win, So at some point I'm going to have like some kind of a manifesto around like, this is how you can talk about it when it comes to me. That's coming. So anyway, today I am going to the nurse's clinic and get my dressing cleaned up. I hope that one of the 3 people that didn't leave me with pain is going to be there today to help me, because like I said, the last few days have been amazing, that I didn't feel pain in the tube incision site. So get that cleaned up. And then I'm going to my office and figuring a lot of stuff out there. It's a bit of a tiring day, I guess, as a result of that, because that's going to be a lot of stuff to do. But it'll also feel good knowing that it's getting done. So that's what's in store for today. I may or may not record during the day based on how I'm feeling, because that's how I've been doing this thing as a professional patient and kind of full-time YouTuber. All right. Love and care. So much love and care for all of you watching, and chef kisses this way and that way. And because I think it's cool to give chef's kisses. Things are good. Like, things are good when you give chef's kisses, right? Like, you don't give chef's kisses when like something's bad. Like, if you have a bad meal, or if you had a bad experience, you're not going to be giving chef's kisses. So I think like that just feels like a good thing to do. It's just good chef's kisses. And as always, please think about love and care, and love and care in your life. Love and care for yourself, love and care for somebody else in your life, maybe everyone in your life, even somebody who kind of gets on your nerves a little bit. Maybe you might try, might not. That's okay. And if there's any left over, I will gladly take some of that as well. Please send them my way. So for now, that is the update for the morning of Thursday, October 22nd, 2020. And I will talk to you again real soon.